Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Little Lunch Lecture today. We are very glad to see everyone on this November 6th. It's beautiful where I am. I hope it is where you are. Um, for any first timers at the Little Lunch Lecture, which I think there may be a couple looking at the list, I do want to let everyone know we are recording and we are broadcasting on Facebook Live as well. Just FYI, since your faces are on there, need to know that. There will be a couple links in the chat. If you would like to sign up for our e-news list, please do, and then you can stay apprised of the upcoming Little Lunch Lectures and other coastal land trust happenings. We're going to keep everybody on mute during the talk. So if you're not muted now and you are also not our speaker, go ahead and mute your microphone. And we will just keep you on mute until the end. And then if there's time for questions, we will invite anyone who would like to go off mute, ask a question, have some conversation at the end. And or if you'd rather ask a question in the chat, feel free. You can either do that to everyone or to me, Stephanie Barrett, and I will read it out loud to you. So great. So we are glad to welcome Sam Cook to the Little Lunch Lecture stage today. In 2016, Sam took on his current role as Executive Director of Forestry Assets for the College of Natural Resources at North Carolina State. Sam oversees 10 forest properties that support research and generate more than $3 million annually for the college. And that may be different now, but that's the number I found online when I was Googling Sam. Sam is passionate about getting more minorities, especially African Americans, into the forestry industry, which he does by recruiting and mentoring students, just as he was mentored into the field as a young adult. Sam is also a member of the board of directors of the Coastal Land Trust and has been a champion for conservation of coastal lands for many years. Sam, thanks for taking your time out of your busy schedule to be with us today and to share your experience and expertise.
Thank you, Stephanie, and looking forward to doing this, and fortunate that we have the time to make it happen. So I'm excited to be able to spend some time with everyone today and talking about what we do here in the College of Natural Resources as it relates to managing our properties. You heard Stephanie refer to the fact that we have 10 properties scattered across 11 counties. That represents anywhere from 100 acres all the way up to 180,000 acres. So I'm not the one that's actually on the ground doing all the management. We have a team of people, as you can see from this first slide, with two forest managers, one being Elizabeth Snyder and John Sanders. Snyder was a graduate here in the master's program in forestry, and John is our Hoffman forest manager. You'll see that property is adjacent to some of TLC's property. Laxmi is one of our newest team members. She came on as the program associate to support our team. Now, you probably have a couple of things on your mind that's been on your mind for a while. COVID. And guess what the other? The election. So for us, we spent quite a bit of time over the COVID season, as I call it, when we shut down in March. And our intent was to continue to work our students. We'll talk a little bit about our students. You'll see students throughout this presentation. You'll hear how we make money, some of the different aspects of the things that we do on our property. You'll see that we have quite a few of our properties that are what we typically refer to as certified, meaning that we have the right to manage our property sustainable and be inspected to ensure that you're following the guidelines that's put in front of you. Most importantly, we'll talk about sort of the education and research opportunities, but overall, to give you some idea of what we do across the landscapes of the 10 properties that we own. We raise money for education and research, but we also provide funds, one for reforestation. So if we harvest timber, we make sure we put money back, put the money back into the land first. Then we ensure that we allocate dollars for scholarships. So when you look at the COVID impact, for us, it impacted the university, it impacted our college, but it really did not impact the students who we hired as student workers. We were able to provide the guidelines that the state imposed on us, and we were considered essential workers. So we did what we could to ensure that our students were safe. They helped maintain the right to go out and do the work. They utilized the schedules that were provided to them. And they were allocated 20 hours a week, which is their normal work week. And for those that had more opportunity to work, they were able to do that. And you will be delighted to know that no one got COVID, no one got sick, and we were able to maintain social distance and keep the mask and keep everybody focused. Now, our largest property, we value it each year, especially around the mid-year, because that's when we're closing out the books for the year. And we put a timber deed back in 2016 on the Hoffman Forest. I know most of you on this phone call, on this video meeting, realize that we at one time tried to sell the Hoffman. We brought it off the market. We decided to go with an actual timber deed. That timber deed has an estimated market value of about $80 million, and our total estimated market value of the land with all the assets on it is another $74 million, giving us a total value of $154 million. The other things that we do on the forest, we deal in farm leases. We actually have agreements in place for 3 years with Duke Energy. They're trying to create a solar farm with us. It's an actual 6-year option plan. We have 3 more years left before we can maintain solar opportunities if they decide to move forward with the options. We sell mitigation credits. So from that, it generates anywhere from 250 at any given year, all the way up to $750,000. So that's money that we count on, but money that we can't guarantee each year. But in the past few years, it has been averaging well over $300 some thousand dollars. We're constantly looking at options to increase more financial gain on the property. Since we don't have foundation employees anymore, we have a headquarters. We have 3 to 4 acres down there that the actual headquarters sit on, several different facilities that exist on that property, and we're looking for a tenant to be able to lease this out that they may one day can do something else, because we do not need it now that we only have one person on the property. We have a cell tower. As you can see, it generates really good money. 2019, 2020, it's renewed every year. We have about a 45 more years of a lease option, and they're constantly looking for ways to increase that and put more time on it. We had a transmission line that we sold, built it, and got pretty good income, and then they rented out the property and they provided us more income on an annual basis, as you can see below. Here's what the actual footprint of the Hoffman property is. So everything you see in green is what we consider the timber deed. This was turned over to a company called Resource Management Services. They're located in Birmingham, Alabama. They have a TIMO, which is a timber investment company. So they paid us to lease up, to put a deed on the property. They manage commercial forestry, and they make money for their investor. And that investor, we have nothing to do with. We only deal with RMS. We really don't have to deal with RMS because they are the sole leasee of that deed. We still own the rights of the dirt. They own the rights of the deed to manage the timber. But they also have total control over recreation and what we call the water, the ditches, and the actual recreation of the rest of the property. Some of the activities that take place, what they have reported to us, they're required to give us an annual report. So in that particular time period, they reforested over 2,800 acres. Prior to that, they did 1,620 acres in thinnings and 585 acres in clear cuts. And they did a couple salvage cuts because we've had at least 2 hurricanes that impacted that particular area over the past 2 years. This will give you some idea of the properties and what we've done in the certification schedule. You see how we use our students to do the inventory. We try to update our inventory every 5 years. We have some properties, which you see as Gates and Bullneck Swamp. They're both properties that are flooded, need quite a bit of work, and we're looking at other funding options that we can do, either what we consider carbon credits or below and above. So we're doing 2 studies now to see what we can do, one either with the Hoffman and these 2 other properties, Gates and Bullneck. So I'm gonna walk through the slides pretty quick because we've got a lot to cover and we only have a few minutes to give you time to talk to us. Hill Forest is north of Durham, and we do inventory. We got all new equipment for our students to learn, which is the latest and greatest. So when they go out in the marketplace to get a job, they'll be up to date, up to speed on the different things that's required of them to be successful in their job. Hill Forest, as I stated, is in North Durham. It's 2,500 acres. We use it as an educational research forest, but we also generate income annually on it. As you can see, dealing with herbicides, culverts, prescribed burning. Students help us do burning. We do a lot of work with Forest Service. Anything we harvest, we have a harvesting plan put back in place. We have an actual reforestation plan put back in place. And we try to make sure that we are doing the reforestation planning in advance so we'll know what we need to do going forward. Nice group of crew. Lady on your left, that's Liz Snyder. She oversees the management, of course, management of the Piedmont properties, as we call it. She and John works together. This is a crew from the actual students and some of our partners in the field. This is the type income, this the different activities that we do. This talks about a lodge that we're trying to restore. It was built back in the CCC years. And it's probably back in 1933 where we have 3 log cabins that's been there that we are trying to restore one of them, which is the largest one. And so we have a real fundraising plan put in place to make that happen. All the logs came off of Hill Forest, and so they were Virginia pine. We do quite a bit on the maintenance of summer camp because this is where we educate our students. They get to stay out there 9 weeks out of the year. Didn't happen this year for them because of COVID. So we had to revamp our summer camp experience, and we're having makeup for them over the holiday, which will be from Thanksgiving out to January 15th, to ensure that those students get the field experience that they missed ordinarily when they were at camp for the 9-week program. Shank, right here in town, adjacent to our university. We're probably 4 miles away. 360 acres. We treat it as an educational, not just for our students and the faculty, but we also use it to educate the public. So we do different things, but we also have communication back to the public and the neighbors to ensure that they know what we're doing in advance before we get too involved in it. So this is a harvest job that was done on the Shank Forest, and that's right at the main entrance there. Students were impacted with that, and we also use that as a teaching lab for them because these are the things that they will be doing when they get in the real world or in their internship programs. Goodwin is down in our Southern Pines area. It's about 1,300 acres. This is our cash crop. So when I talk about scholarships, we provide 7 academic scholarships and we provide 7 non-academic, but they're called student working scholarships that we put funds to our academic agenda to ensure that those students qualify to receive those funds each year. And they get 7 of them get to work for us, which you've seen some of them in the past. The other 7 do not have to take on a job. They just get the money as a traditional scholarship. But it is a pine plantation and it's constantly managed. And we down there today just sold a timber sale. I give you an idea, $2,800 an acre. So it is a cash crop. Activities. This was a new gate put up that one of our students helped to build. As you can see, we have wildlife. Lee is one in Johnston County, it's 126 acres, trying to get it reforested now. Tamaka, which is up there in north of Durham, is also in Person County, right adjacent to Hill Forest, and we don't have a lot of activity going on that because we're looking to do a pre-commercial thinning here probably in the next 1 to 2 years. Hosley, Franklin County, 260 acres. And as you can see, most of the work has been done there. I'm giving you an overview of all the properties just so you can see that our team is spread out, our work is spread out, and there's quite a bit to be done at each one of the properties every year. Taylor, located 116 acres down in Nash County. In Bull Neck, you heard me mention that, 6,000 acres. We're having to rebuild a bridge. This one of the floods destroyed it. It needed to be restored. So we invested money there without any income coming out. We do have annual hunt club income that generates money from bear hunters. So that's been a pretty good lucrative deal each year. Chowan is up in Gates County, 3,700 acres. You see no activity right now because it's surrounded by water and we have no real access into the property. We're working with a neighbor to try to gain access so we can start doing some more work in that area. I talked about the different properties. This is a snapshot of each one. As you can see, we have 4 foundation properties, which is under the foundation's name, but all the funds and the work itself comes back to the College of Natural Resources. You see the ownership of the Hoffman, the Lee, and Tamaka is all under the endowment. The endowment has the ownership rights, but we have the management rights, which is here in the Natural Resources under the college. State provided us 3 properties, which is Bull Neck, Hill, and Shank. Our job for that is to generate income for the reforestation, and any excess we need to make sure that we're using it for education and research. Also, the other thing I failed to mention, my team is 100% supported off of what we do every day. So we're not getting state funds. We're not sitting here trying to charge back the state for anything that we do. We generate what we make, what we eat. We eat what we make. Lost the slide. Not sure what happened to that slide, but it was there. 2 of them missing. Take me off of, I'll stop sharing now and open up to questions, and then I'll see where that slide went. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Don. Don, do you have a question?
I'm just curious about what's the relationship with forestry in general, with old growth forests and climate change, and the quote unquote plantation forests. Is there a balance going on with old growth forests and plantation forests?
Is there a balance?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question is, old growth forests provide a lot of opportunity fighting climate change. You could say old growth forests are superorganisms and plantation forests are different. And I know you have to have timber management. We need the resource. Is there any balance between the two, carbon credits or whatever?
Yeah, we're constantly looking at, when I look at our properties, we're sequestering carbon, but most importantly, we're not down in those like Bull Neck, and Hoffman has a Picosin on it that we're trying to now restore for below ground carbon and above ground carbon. So out of the 80,000 acres, 56,000 acres is managed for pine plantations. The other, what I call 30,000, is left there as a Picosin. No harvesting activities or nothing is going on in there except for about 1,600 acres where we actually a farmer is renting out the land and they're planting crops. As it relates to the other properties, Goodwin, I mentioned it earlier, pine plantations, but we don't do much in the hardwood business because we have no market for it now. So I feel like as the industry, we have a good balance of sustainability, of not having to get into old growth forest or having to use those products for where it needs going forward.
Sam, there's a couple of comments in the chat about portions of the hill forest and the shank forest that have conservation and potential public access, like the Loblolly Trail in Shank Forest. And I just wanted to kind of fact check to make sure the question asker is saying, isn't that correct? So,
So on Shank Forest, most people see it as their own park. It's adjacent to Umstead Park. We have full use of any. We have walkers, not bike riders, but anyone that's walking the trails, runners. I see them all the time. We were the only property open when COVID shut everything down. So we had triple the use that it normally would get. Currently, we're looking at all of our trails. We're getting ready to redo all the signs. We're focused on making sure that our arboretum is kind of put back in place and restored. There is on Hill Forest, it's open not just to the public, but you can buy it'll be like a, what do you call it, permit to go out and either ride your horse or walk the trails. And it has water access. The river is there. Goodwin and Hoffman, we don't allow public access on that because there's traditional work going on all the time. And so we don't want anyone to get shot because of the hunters, especially on Hoffman. RMS probably has about 6 hunting clubs that operate on that property. And we have hunt clubs on Hill Forest, 2 of them. One's a fox hunting group and the other is a traditional hunt group. They have to work together to make sure that they don't hurt each other, but also maintain the use of the forest at different intervals in different time periods.
thank you.
So it is great to see positive feedback. Yep.
Ann Simpson just asked if you've seen interest from the hunt clubs remaining steady.
Yeah, we always have people looking to find a place to hunt. I don't think we'll ever have a time that we have to go out and search for hunt clubs. It's our people that look interested in hunting. We tried something this past year. It's kind of like, we call it the Airbnb of the outdoor hunting model, whereas this group out of Virginia, they have a platform called Outdoor Access. And we sat down with them and offered up the properties that we would allow people to hunt on in different type huntings. So they list those for people to gain access, and they can go in and buy out time, where they can be an hour, or it can be a day, or it can be a weekend. And literally it has increased our hunt club, our hunting income significantly by the fact that they can still hunt along with the other hunters, but they're doing it in different places. And so we'll segment where we want to put them. But we let that group manage it. They collect a fee for it. And all we do is sit and collect a check.
Hey, Sam, this is Stuart Borrett at UNCW. Thanks for your presentation today. I just wanted to point out that I mean, it seems, if I'm understanding you correctly, what I'm hearing you describe is a fantastic connection between the forest management and commercialization activities you're doing, and that positive feedback back to the undergraduate student education. That it's directly, not only is it supporting itself as the operation and the land management, but it's also feeding back into the education of the students, both directly and indirectly, both that work study kind of high impact practice of learning opportunity, but then directly funding some of it and lowering the cost of college for at least some of the students engaged.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to highlight that because it's a very impressive program. So thank you for sharing it.
It's been a success because when I came to NC State in 1982, I was in the same program. I didn't have the cash flow to actually pay to go to school. So I took on the first job here at NC State in the college, working for the mentor who actually put me in the position I'm in today. But what's great about it is our students constantly have a lab at their access. The other good part about it is our industry partners, including Forest Service and others, they work alongside these individuals. And so we always tell them, the students, that you're being interviewed every day that you go out there. So you got to stay professional, do your job, and always looking to learn. So we place in just forestry alone 98 to 100% of our students every year. People are looking at NC State, especially the forestry school, because of how we operate, what we do, the land base, and especially our summer camp experience. And thank you for the comments, Stuart. The other thing I can add to that is COVID forced us not to give our students the summer camp experience. So we developed a model that started November the 30th through January the 15th. We went out to what we call collaborators, which are people that own their own company, or they working with companies, and asked, can they take on a student to teach them the things that they normally would have learned in forestry summer camp. We also created a 40-hour credit that goes with that 40 hours of study along with it, that says once they complete that assignment, those 40 hours, they get 1 credit hour starting next spring. So education, and some of our collaborators are paying them up to $16 an hour to work alongside them to give them that exposure.
It sounds like you guys have thought about how to innovate and pivot in this time. So
you have to, because literally, if we did not pivot on that level, the students that missed the summer camp would be 1 year behind, because what summer provides is sets them up for their junior and senior year. So if they don't learn that, what we call field experience, they cannot move forward.
wow, yeah.
And so we have to either do another way of providing that, or connect them with someone that can make sure they get it. And we've been able to do that. So I'm very proud of the fact that we as faculty and staff came together and sat down, developed something just not for now, but when we come back in the spring, as COVID still exists, we have another model to lay out and be prepared for that. Yeah, to reduce wildfire risk in the peat soil at Hopland, and she say would want to be careful about maintaining the water level. We mentioned that the drainage district are controlled through agreement with the timber deed. Does it have a threshold set to protect the precocity? Actually, we don't really drain it. We have a full water management plan that's in place that the RMS had to adopt. They don't release all the water like most people think they do. They keep a lot of the water in the ditches controlled, because like just mentioned here, that the fire is a good fire protection and barrier, keeps the peat soil wet. Most importantly, it also helped the growth of the trees. So the only time we look at trying to drain a block, as we would call, is when we would lower the water table. So one, you can get the harvesting done. Second, to reforestation. Then the water table is set back to normal. Well, look like I'm at the 12:30 mark. And I appreciate everyone's time, and I'm hopeful this was sufficient for you, and a lot of information that went for one time, but just want to give you an idea of who we are and what we do.
And that you did. Thank you, Sam. We do appreciate your time and giving us an introduction to the 10 forests. You know, I would not have known that there were that many.
Yeah, most people think the state owns all of it, but they don't.
Well, it's really cool partnership. A lot of people in the chat are saying thank you, thank you, thank you. So I hope you have your eyes on that.
Yep, I see it.
Very good. Well, Little Lunch Lectures are going steady. I think I mentioned last week, we have them scheduled through January the 8th. So keep your eyes on coastallandtrust.org/events or /lectures. Both of those places will give you the upcoming. But next week we are welcoming back our 2019 and 2020 summer intern, Joel Cook. And he worked both of those summers with the Coastal Land Trust on our Reeves Chapel project. And he will be telling about the community conservation story with that project in Brunswick County. And it's a really neat story. So I hope you all will make plans to be here for that next Friday. And then on the 20th, Alton Perry will present a little bit different type of sustainable forestry story, the Sustainable Forestry and Land Retention Project, of which Roanoke Electric is a partner amongst many partners. So would love for you guys to join us for that. We'll be off the 27th because I may be in a coma from Turkey. Maybe you will be too. And then we will also take Christmas Day and New Year's Day off. So mark your calendar not to show up on those days. But thank you again for being here, and we'll see you next couple weeks before we take off for Thanksgiving. So thanks again, Sam. Thanks everybody. We'll see you soon.